Welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is the GXSimmer, and we are on Season 2 of Nina and Amanda, Chapter 1. I know it's been a while since we've caught up with you, but a lot's been going on since the last time we've had a new episode, and we're going to talk about it today. And just remember that if everything seems that it's nice and everything is going well, it is. Nina's in a great relationship. Amanda and Tony are stronger than ever. Carrie has even found a new relationship with a young guy named Drake. And everything seems to be going along fine. But guess what? Something's about to happen. And we're going to find out. So stay tuned. Let's get into the episode. Nina took in a breath and a sigh as she looked over at Addie sleeping beside her with her head on her chest, stroking her bare back. What a night last night. They had gone to the theater to take in the newest hit off Broadway Boulevard in San Myshuno. After they came back to her penthouse, they spent the night together. It had been 2 months since the first time that they had kissed. Addie stayed over almost every night this week. Soon Nina knew she would go to hang out with her pack and see her family. It was perfect timing. Carrie would be visiting the penthouse the same weekend. When Addie would come home, she'd want her to fly down to see her friends and spend the weekend there. Nina laughed as she thought about how awkward she felt the first time she went there. She was so nervous and unsure. Before they went, Addie had a talk with her, telling her, "If you come with me, I'm not going to hold back. I like to be free with my friends, so understand that you might become uncomfortable, and if you do, just understand this is what you signed up for." Nina responded by saying, "I wouldn't have agreed to it if I didn't know what was going to happen, and I admit, I'm curious." "Okay then," Addie said, and then she picked up the phone to call her friends and tell them that her friend, Nina, would be coming with her when she visited next. Since Nina was concerned about scandals, she asked Addie's friends to sign an NDA prior to visiting. Her friends were very agreeable and did so, understanding Nina's positioning in social circles and how tabloids could have a field day with the headlines. Generally, Addie's friends were very sweet people. They didn't act starstruck when they saw her, and Nina liked being treated as just a regular person, and not like a global superstar. Both were attractive and in good shape. Their names were Glenn and Maren. They were funny, sweet, and great cooks. They had been married for 12 years and had 2 children, both of which were away at their grandparents' house for the weekend. Glenn had short, dark brown hair and a nice smile that showed off his dimples. Nina found him attractive. Maren had dark auburn hair, long and curly with an infectious laugh and deep blue eyes. Nina thought she was very pretty, too. Both were in great shape. Glenn said he was an engineer and Maren was a marketing professional. They held a barbecue in their backyard and cooked such a wonderful spread in Nina's honor. Nina admitted the whole time during the visit she wondered when or if things would shift. So far, it just seemed like a fun evening, as they laughed, told stories, drank wine, and enjoyed themselves. Nina liked them a lot, but most of the time, she just smiled and glanced at Addie, who looked so beautiful. She wondered if maybe nothing happened on day 1, and it was just a warm-up of sorts. It seemed casual so far. A friendly barbecue with good friends, and she liked them both. After dessert, it was starting to get dark. Glenn lit the outdoor fire pit. Maren got up and started clearing the table. Nina offered to help, but she told her to relax. Addie, however, jumped up and assisted, not allowing Maren to tell her no. After they cleared the table, she saw them standing near the entrance of the kitchen as Nina sat outside in a patio chair. And then that's when things turned. Next, she saw the two of them kissing and holding one another very close, smiling at one another and laughing. At first, Nina's jealousy spiked, and she had every inclination to go over there to tackle Maren and slap Addie across the face. But she reminded herself she would see this, and she needed to be cool. Addie had warned her beforehand that if Nina came with her, she would see a side of her she hadn't before. She also noticed that Addie turned and saw her. Addie smiled at her, chuckled, and then started to kiss Maren deeper, even more passionate as she moved her hands over her. Nina couldn't stop watching. All she thought was, there was a girlfriend with another woman, and she had to admit it was making her get turned on just by watching the two of them. Glenn sat beside her and asked, "It's fun to watch, isn't it?" Nina looked at him oddly for a minute and responded with, "You're okay with that?" Glenn nodded. "I love watching the two of them. I just can't wait until it's my turn." "Oh, I see," Nina said nervously. Glenn smiled at Nina and said, "You're a very beautiful woman, Nina. I'm sure you've heard that quite a few times." "Not as much as you think," Nina said as she cleared her throat. "Do I make you uncomfortable at all?" he asked. No, Nina stammered, clearing her throat. Watching Addie and Marin against the wall. Not at all." "Have you ever been with a man?" he asked. "No," Nina said, looking at him. I haven't even kissed a man." "Would you like to?" he asked. "All right," Nina said. He moved in slowly, placing his hand on her cheek. She closed her eyes, feeling his touch. It was warm and gentle. Then his lips brushing against hers lightly and softly. She breathed out and smiled at him as he parted. "You're trembling a little," he told her softly. "Did you like that?" "I did," she whispered. "Would you like to again?" "Yes," she whispered again. And he brought his lips to her again. This time it was more, deeper, longer. It set her on fire. She never thought she could feel this way with a man, but he was making her excited. His touch was gentle, and he kissed her cheek, whispering in her ear. And her thoughts came back to the current day as she chuckled in bed. What a weekend it had been. Her thoughts broke when she saw Addie look at her. "Hi," she whispered. "Hi," Nina said back. "What were you thinking about?" Addie asked. "You," Nina told her. "Me?" Nina nodded and chuckled. "Yeah, you. You make me very happy." "I'm glad," she said. "I thought for a minute you were thinking about the weekend at Glenn and Marin's." Addie laughed. Nina laughed back and said, "Well, it was nice visiting them again. It was a great weekend, but not as great as when we got back." "Oh, is that a fact?" Addie asked. "It is. You hungry?" "Starving," Addie said. "Why, you want to order something up from your chef?" "No." "I'm going to make you breakfast this morning," Nina told her. "Oh, you will?" Addie asked. "You've never cooked for me before." "Huh. First time for everything, darling," Nina said as she kissed her. "Stay here in bed. I'll bring it in to you." "Breakfast in bed, too?" Addie asked. "Oh, just allow me to spoil you a little," Nina said. "Spoil me now," Addie whispered. Nina smirked and kissed her, holding her close to her, and they spent most of the morning in bed together. When they got up, it was close to 11 a.m. "Here, try this. It's a spinach frittata. Learned the recipe from Tony," she said as she served herself a plate and put it back on the stove. Addie came over with her coffee and sat down, enjoying the meal. "Hey, this is good. This is really good." "Oh, thank you. I'd like to cook, too, when I have some free time. I've gotten pretty okay over the years," Nina said with a smile. "You seem different today," Addie said with a smirk. "Oh, do I?" "You sure do. What's got you glowing so much?" Addie asked as she finished up her meal. "Come and sit on the couch with me," Nina said. Addie got up and followed her as they sat beside one another, and Nina smiled at her. "I've loved being with you these last couple of months. You've made me happier than I've been in a long time." Addie smiled and stroked her cheek, saying, "Well, you make me happy too. I've thought about this a lot, and I want you to move in with me and be my partner." "Would you?" Nina asked. Addie breathed in and sighed. That's a huge step. Addie, I'm falling in love with you, Nina said as she held her hands. I've never known anyone like you, and I want you to be part of my life. I want you to meet my family, and I want to build a future with you. Will you be with me, Addie? Nina, please, don't say any more, Addie said as she stood and looked away. Nina looked up at her, feeling hurt, as she stood and walked over to her. Why? What's wrong? I thought we had something together. We do, Addie said as she turned to her. But I told you from the beginning, I don't have relationships. I thought maybe you might want to, Nina said sadly. You don't know what you're asking of me. First, let's discuss the obvious thing. I'm a werewolf. I'm very much a werewolf, and I'm sure you can't handle that part of me. You haven't seen it yet. And I'm afraid you would be terrified of me. Addie said as she began to cry. Terrified of you? Nina asked, folding her hands. Addie, I love you. I would accept you for who you are, no matter what you are. Sure, you say that now. What about my friends? Addie asked. Would I have to give them up? Oh, Addie, that's like a novelty. If we're involved in a committed relationship, I don't want other people involved with us, Nina said in a firm voice. I want my partner to be with me and me only. That's why I can't be with you, Addie said. They're not a novelty to me. I love them. You would want me to give them up, and I don't want to. Nina breathed out when she heard her, and then said, You're in love with them? That's it. They're not just friends to you. You're in love with them. That's why you don't have relationships. Because you're already in one. Okay, Addie said as she turned to her and wiped a tear away. Yeah, that's the truth. I am in love with them. They are important to me. I refuse to give them up for anyone or anything. What about me? Nina asked. Was this just woohoo to you? Was I nothing more? Of course not, Nina, Addie said. Then what do I mean to you? Nina asked. Addie shut her eyes and said, I am in love with you too, but I don't think it's enough for me to be with you. Why? Nina asked. Because of your friends? No, because... I never told you my boyfriend broke up with me, did I? I'm listening. He wanted a family. I didn't. You don't want children? No, Addie said. I don't. I was born a werewolf. My parents were werewolves, as were my grandparents. I've carried the bloodline for 6 generations, and I never wanted to bring a child in the world who was forced to be a werewolf. I see, Nina said. But there's a treatment that turns Sims back from werewolves. Why didn't you do that if you didn't want to be one? What if our child didn't want to be one? They could do the treatment. Do you hear yourself? Addie asked with tears in her eyes. I know you want more children. I don't want to have any. And I don't want a child of mine to have to make that choice or endure what I did as a werewolf. When you're born into it, it's far different. You can never lead a normal life. You must always succumb to the moon's will, and it comes out in you forcefully and violently. Everything you hide about yourself is brought up into the open when you transform. The only ones who can truly understand this are your pack. Then why be a werewolf if you hate being one? Nina asked. Because I don't hate being one. I love being a werewolf. I love rampaging and fighting. I love running through the woods in the dead of the night, hunting for prey and tasting that raw meat. It's exhilarating. I love it when I howl at the moon on the highest peaks and fight for my territory. I love being a werewolf, but I don't want to force that on anyone else by choice. I know what it's like to live with a beast inside of you. Once a month, I free myself of that beast, and all my anger, frustration, stress, and doubt run wild for an entire weekend, and it's the best feeling in the world. That's who I really am. That's what I do. You're already assuming I won't understand. If you don't want children, it's okay. But it's not okay for you, Addie yelled. I know you, Nina. You want another child. You may never have told me, but I have heard it in your voice. You love your nephews and nieces. All you ever talk about is after visiting Amanda and Tony's house, Zoe laughed and how big she's getting. You love talking about when Carrie was small and how you'd love to do that again someday. I don't want to confine you to a life of misery. A life of misery? Nina asked. Then why didn't you say this to me before we got involved? Damn it, Addie, why didn't you walk away from me when you resigned? Because I didn't want to, Addie said. I thought you could handle the type of situation we had. I thought maybe you'd be satisfied with us being together as is, with me going to Moonlit Mill once a month and visiting my friends, and in the meantime we'd be together being happy and loving one another. You never thought I want more than that? Nina asked. Sure I did. But I thought you could have the type of relationship that didn't involve... Addie turned away as she said, total commitment. Oh, I see, Nina said. I don't want to be exclusive, Nina. I don't want a family. I like my life. I'm sorry. I think I'll go, Addie said as she started walking back to the bedroom. Nina got up and followed her, calling her through her tears. Could you try? I would be willing. Trust me. It's better this way. How is it better? I love you, Nina said. You'll be okay. You learn to love again through me. That's a huge step for anyone. And you'll love again after me. You deserve someone who can give you everything you deserve and more, Nina. I can't be that person for you. You're going to be a hard act to follow for a while. You will too, Addie said. And I hope that you find someone to make you happy. And if it's Glenn and Marin, forever, well, so be it, Nina said to her. Thank you. I love you, Nina. I'll never forget you at the times we've had. Addie, I love you, Nina whispered as Addie kissed her with a tear coming out of her eye. Goodbye, Addie said as she walked past Nina and into the elevator. Nina sighed, shutting her eyes, placing her hand over her heart, feeling it break. She walked out onto the balcony and peered into the distance. She felt the wind across her face as a tear rolled down her cheek. Her heart was broken once again. But as she stood, she didn't feel like she was going to break into millions of pieces. This relationship ended cleanly. They both wanted different things. But at least Nina knew she could love again. And maybe someday she would. So that's going to end chapter 1 of season 2. Yeah, that was kind of heartbreaking. But you know what? Nina's going to be okay. Because basically they both realized they wanted different things. And Addie's going one way, Nina's going another. And, when you feel that way, when one person wants one thing more than another, the compromise sometimes doesn't work. And in Nina's case, she needed to follow her heart and make the right decision. And I think she did. But get ready for chapter 2. That's going to be a good one. We've got a lot of catching up to doing that one, and I think you're going to like what's coming up. So if you like today's content, please make sure to like, share, subscribe, click notifications so you always know when a new episode's coming out. Thank you so much for all of your subscriptions, your comments, your shares. Every bit of that helps this little channel to grow, and I thank you so much. Till next time, this is Jen, the GXSimmer. I'll see you on the next episode of Nina and Amanda. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.